What is up, Blue Demon fans, and welcome back to another episode of the Blue Demon Banter podcast brought to you by WeAreDePaul. And DePaul fans, the duo is back from last year. It is myself
Yeah.
and John Keeton back for an episode here on the Blue Demon Banter podcast. John, man, how we doing today?
We coolin', man. We coolin', we vibing, we enjoying ourselves. How are you, man? It's been a minute.
Yeah, it's been. I haven't seen you. We haven't recorded something together in a year, but it's been great. It's been going good, and great to have you on here. Great to talk to Paul basketball, and I wanted to, get you on here from kind of a fan perspective, someone who doesn't cover the team every day, someone who's more, at the games as a fan. Just how has the season gone for you as a fan? How exciting has it been? How's everything been in that area?
It's actually been really solid. I was talking about this with one of my friends yesterday. I felt like DePaul last year was at a point to where we would have those stretches of games where it's like, okay, like they look really, really good. And then they'll have those stretches of games where they get against those good teams. And it's like, okay, like we're not there yet.
Yeah.
I felt like this year we did a much better job with that, especially against UConn, because both of the games that we played against UConn were pretty close, and then UConn started pulling away at the end. But being able to beat Creighton, being able to beat Xavier, and being able to compete with Villanova and compete with all of these teams, with the teams that are what the team that we had this year is a huge, huge improvement. And I feel like this team is going into the right direction. I think one thing going into the Big East tournament and then going into the offseason is getting guys that can rebound and shoot from the perimeter consistently. But other than that, like I really like the tenacity and the competitiveness that this DePaul team has shown, especially this year. So Chris Holtmann and the boys are doing a really good job.
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point about, being able to be competitive against some of these top teams. And obviously, UConn was able to pull away, and Villanova was able to pull away. But in both times against Villanova, DePaul held their own. Like DePaul held their own in the first meeting at Villanova. Villanova had a great second half. What happened on last night? What happened on Wednesday night against Villanova? The same thing. DePaul played well to start. They looked good to start. The shooting wasn't there from both teams, but looked good. They only were down by 2.5, and then second half, Kevin Willard just was in his bag and had a great second half adjustments. Talked about it in the locker room with the guys, and I think it shows something, like you said. I think it shows that we're there. Like we're there. We're competing against some of these high power teams. Villanova,
Yeah.
who's gonna make the March Madness tournament this year, tournament team. We were in that ball game for most of the game on Wednesday night. So I think it's been awesome to see, and I think it's been awesome to watch a team that's been able to compete throughout the year, beating Creighton twice, beating Seton Hall twice. What about beating Marquette twice? Like I know
Yep.
Marquette's not having a good year, but beating Marquette twice is big for a DePaul program that hasn't done that since 1991. You and I weren't even alive. You and I didn't even know what DePaul basketball was at that point. So it's just a good stepping stone, obviously, for Holtmann and here in his second year. And he was just nominated for, National Coach of the Year. He's a finalist, along with guys like Dan Hurley and stuff like that. So obviously, Holtmann's doing a great job. The college basketball landscape, college basketball world is all seeing that as well. And he should be also a one of the top guys to win Big East Coach of the Year. I don't know if he wins it. I think Seton Hall and Shaheen Holloway has done a great job there, but I think he's definitely in contention because the job that he's done has been really really fantastic. I guess what are your thoughts on Holtman winning potentially Big East Coach of the Year?
I feel like he's right. He's right up
Hmm.
there with Holloway's right up there. And I
Yeah,
feel like with the job that they have done, especially with the interior, is getting
yeah,
better and better. Like there's still like a little bit of problems with like
of
rebounding and
course,
then
yeah,
like scoring and all that. But from looking at this team 4 years ago, looking at the Paul as a program, and you tell yourself like, are they able to beat the Marquettes of the world? Are they able to beat the Xaviers of the world? Are they able to beat the Creightons of the world? and you're shaking your head like, no, like
Yeah.
there's no
Yep.
future
Yep.
within that. But being able to not only compete with these teams, but get break a milestone with Big East wins, and then break another milestone with more Big East wins. You're showing the DePaul alumni, you're showing the DePaul fan base that what you're doing is progressing in the right direction. So there's so much hope with this team, and there's so much hope with the players and still because everyone believes in what they're putting and what Holtmann is putting down and what Holtmann is preaching from practice to practice, from games to games. Like you can just tell by the interactions with them. So I would love for him to win Big East Coach of the Year because he's right up there with it.
Yeah. I Holtman is a good coach, and you could have said that even before he took the job at DePaul. Just what he was able to do at Gardner Webb, and then go to Butler, and then Ohio State. This is a guy who's won Coach of the Year in three different leagues. Like he's good. Like everyone knows that he's a good coach, and he has shown that, and he is showing that now for the DePaul community, and he has done a great job here in year two. And back to him being the national award finalist for the Jim Phelan National Coach of the Year. He's guys like Todd Golden of Florida is on that list. Fred Hoiberg, Nebraska. Dan Hurley, UConn. Tom Izzo, Michigan State. Tommy Lloyd, Arizona. Dustin May, Michigan. Like he's he's in that group for the job that he has done in DePaul in just his second season. The DePaul program that like you mentioned 4 years ago had nothing go for them. Absolutely nothing. You entered 3 years ago. 2 years ago, they went 0-20 in the conference. Now they're 8-11, and they have a shot here to make some noise here in the Big East tournament. I want to talk a little bit about, break down a little bit about that DePaul Villanova game. Obviously, Villanova eventually wound up winning that game. It wasn't the end of the score. It was a closer game than the end score kind of predicted. They lost by 19, but it was closer than that, I guess. What was kind of you were there last night, you were at Wintrust. What was kind of your evaluation of that game against Villanova?
I felt like we did a good job of eliminating Villanova to make their perimeter shots, and we eliminated their key guys from getting it going. And I felt
Yeah.
like we did a good job. We did a good job in the first half where we were just letting the ball flow within the offense rather than becoming more stagnant within the offense. And there was a lot of set plays that we drew up in the second half that we just kept on going to, but they started to pick up on that, especially with the pick and rolls with NJ. And I felt like with us not being able to shoot the ball the way Villanova started shooting the ball, Villanova was also rebounding at a huge clip in the second half. And then they started pulling away with their three pointers, which ultimately led them to winning that game yesterday against DePaul. I think going forward, and especially in the Big East tournament, if you're able to play a slower pace with more set action plays, with more pick it with more screen and pops, with more baseline cuts, with more movement rather than just isolation dribbling,
Mm.
DePaul is going to go such a far way. And when they did that, the score was close. But then once Villanova started to get in their groove of, okay, like we're gonna set a double staggering on the wing, but then our center is gonna roll to the basket and being able to get the foul calls and being able to
Yeah.
have them jump and get fouled on jump shooters. It's just gonna bring more momentum towards Villanova's way. So I felt like that was like a big strong point that DePaul's got to improve on going into one, their last Big East game of the
Yeah.
year, and two, going into the Big East tournament.
Yeah, I thought two things for DePaul in that game. One, I did not like the offense at all in that game. And throughout the whole thing, I thought it was just a bad offensive game, and you could just by their numbers, like they shot 2 for 16 from three, like that can't happen. 13%. I just thought that no one really took over the game. Brandon Maclin was good, 16 points. Leighton Blocker had his moments, but Leighton Blocker also he has to be smarter because that's back-to-back games now, Marquette and Villanova, where he's fouling when he doesn't need a foul. And we've seen that a couple times, and Leighton Blocker fouled out for the second straight game because of it. So, and I remember it was early in the first half, about midway through the first half. Leighton Blocker was taking over the game. He hit the shot, he drove to the basket, he was taking over the game. Then he had an offensive foul, and then a foul on the defensive end. Two quick fouls need to come out of the game. That kind of hurt things for DePaul on offense. So Leighton, I think, has to be a bit smarter in that area on being smarter with the foul stuff like that. But I thought offensively, I just didn't think DePaul was in a rhythm all night. I didn't think it was really there offensively. And then the second thing is defensively, I thought they were brutal in the second half. I thought it was a very bad performance. And Holman will tell you that it was bad performance, and it was. Like, you just look at what Villanova was able to do in that second half. First off, 50 points in that second half. That's not a number that DePaul like. This is a DePaul team that A, leans on their defense, and two, DePaul only allows teams to score about 65, 66 points a game. So if they're allowing 50 points, they're not hitting that 65, 60 point average on the defensive end. So that was not good from DePaul last night. And obviously with the inconsistent offense and the defense not being where it needs to be in the second half, they lost that game. And it's fine. Like, you have to learn from these moments, especially late in the year. Holtmann constantly says the same thing, after losses, after wins, they have to keep growing, have to keep improving. And that still rings true to this day. They have to keep improving. They have to keep thriving to just be better, because there's still games left to play. A big game here on Saturday that we'll talk about against Butler. But DePaul has to be better on defensive end. Butler's a good offensive team, but they have to be better on the defensive end. And offense, I'd like to see more rhythm. I'd like to see being a little better. And I would like to see RJ Smith be more consistent. Like, RJ Smith started the season so well, and recently he just hasn't been able to hit his shots. Against Creighton, went 1 for 6. This is 2 points. Marquette 1 for 4, 4 points. Yesterday against Villanova, Wednesday 0 for 3 with 1 point. Like, RJ Smith's got to pick it up a bit. I know he's been streaky at times, but he has to pick it up and go from there. So I thought offensively it has to get better. Defensively they have to lean on that more and be better in that area, especially against a good Butler team. But I wanted to ask you, because Brandon Maclin now is kind of the talk of the Paul Town, him and AJ Benson. What's it been like, kind of cheering him on and rooting for Brandon Maclin here?
It's been dope. It's been dope. And I really love his game. Like, he's such a gritty point guard. And like,
Oh,
when
yeah.
you think of like guys that can go in the paint and finesse their way in, it kind of reminds you of Layden a little bit, right?
Mhm.
Where it's like he's able to get at the right angles at the right time, and he's a great defender too. So it's been awesome to really just see him progress throughout the whole year. And then with like NJ too, like I really love seeing NJ's progression, just
Yes.
because like when you see him in the post, it's so much better this year because he's taking every single action in the
Mhm.
post, and he's more aggressive in the post. And I feel like that leads, or that leads off of the guard play a little bit. So I really enjoyed watching Macklin, especially when him getting into the paint. Because then when we're having a good night shooting the ball, it helps out so much because he's a key contributor when it comes
Yeah.
to that.
Yeah. Maclin has been fantastic for DePaul, and I do fully agree with you on RJ Benson. Like, he has been fun to watch this year. He's just been so much better than the season ago. You could see how much he has improved. I think on both ends, defensively and offensively. Maybe the blocks haven't been there like they were last year, but he has been so good. A reason why DePaul is one of the best 2 point defenses in the country. And offensively, it doesn't matter if it's facing a guy who's 6'11", 7 foot, or a guy who's 6'7", 6'8". Like, NJ Benson has been able to have his way inside, and I think his pump fakes are so good. They're so good, and he does a good job even against guys who are 2, 3, 4 inches taller than him. So I think it's been fun, obviously, watching it. It's sad, obviously, seeing where DePaul is at, and we have to let players like NJ Benson and Brandon Maclin and CJ Gunn, they're gone after this year. Like, it sucks, because they're such an important part of this year's team, and how well and how much improvement the team has had here in year two of Holtmann, they are a big part. Those three players specifically are a big part, and those three players will obviously be recognized on Senior Day here on Saturday at Wintrust Arena. But it's honestly very sad. But I think each of them know what kind of impact that they've left because they have played a fantastic year of basketball, and DePaul is where they are right now because of those three, as well as the other players on the team. But those three have had a big part in where DePaul is at, and it's simple, John. It's simple. Saturday, you win, you get a first round bye in the Big East tournament. It's as simple as you want. You get a first round bye, first time ever in the Big East tournament. First time ever, you get a first round bye. All you have to do, it's in your hands. You beat Butler at home, 11 o'clock tip off time in front of your fans. You beat Butler, you get the number five seed. And I guess, John, just you obviously know DePaul, the history behind DePaul going there and whatnot. What would you think a bye would mean to a DePaul program that just 2 years ago couldn't even win a conference game?
It would be insane.
Yeah.
Absolutely insanity. Because I remember when DePaul beat Xavier. I think it was 2 years ago. It was when Xavier was like highly ranked. And in my mind, I'm thinking to myself, like, everyone is going to be hyped. Like, this is crazy. Like, we just beat a ranked team and we haven't done this in a long time.
Yep.
And like I'm looking around and like everyone is quiet. And I'm like, why? Because like we're DePaul fans is so used to mediocrity, right? Where it's like they they see something good and they're like this is not real. Like I'm not gonna even pay attention to this because they're not gonna do it consistently.
Yep.
I feel like a first round bye is gonna put DePaul on the map. The same way it did last year against Creighton, where it's like even though we lost we're still put in position to do better things in the future. So if we're able to win a first round bye, I think it's going to bring a lot of momentum into the tournament. And on top of that, I feel like it's going to build the landscape for players that want to come here that are on a level of okay, like where can I build a career?
Hmm.
Where can I go in Chicago that's on the upward climb because Northwestern's kind of on the downward climb,
Yeah.
Loyola's on the downward climb, UIC is on the downward climb, and DePaul is moving up.
Yeah.
So when you're building that platform, those types of gains matter. And I feel like if we get a win, it's going to be huge,
Yeah.
huge for DePaul.
It would be big. It would be big. And obviously, you win, you get the fifth seed. It's simple. You win, you beat Butler, get the fifth seed. If you lose, you have to go. It depends on Providence, but if you lose, you could have the sixth seed. If you lose and Providence loses, but if Providence beats Georgetown, I believe they play Georgetown. If Providence beats Georgetown and DePaul loses, DePaul falls to seven. So there's a lot of different ways DePaul can finish. They can finish five, six, or seven. Right now, that they if they win, they're the five seed. They'll play against Seton Hall, who they beat twice, and I think DePaul actually has. They match up good against Seton Hall, both physical defensive teams. I think DePaul has shown that they can beat Seton Hall. And I think I would give them a good shot to beat Seton Hall for a third time. If you lose and Providence loses, you're looking at somewhere maybe Georgetown, could be Marquette. If you lose and Providence wins, you're looking at Marquette or Xavier, depending on what type of how they do in their games this weekend. So a lot of different teams DePaul could play, but number one order of business here, you have to beat Butler on Saturday. And John, how do they do it? How do they beat Butler? They lost the first time they played when they went to Indiana. They lost. How do they do it this time at home in front of the Wintrust crowd?
They got to contain Bizjack. They got to
Yep.
contain Bizjack. When you watch Bizjack, he gets into these spurts where he's scoring so
Yeah,
effortlessly.
so
And I
easy.
feel like if we contain Butler with Bizjack and we contain them from slowing their game down, that's where we win the game because Butler loves to cause chaos and they love to shoot threes. So if we create turnovers for Butler and they're not able to shoot threes, we're going to be able to have a great day at One Trust Arena. Now, for us, we got to be able to rebound the ball
Mhm.
because Butler also loves to, like I said, run in transition. So if we're able to rebound the ball and we're able to slow down the game and hit our shots and not get into silly foul trouble earlier in the game, I feel like DePaul gives a great chance to win because we got to move the ball across the floor and be able to get ourselves into situations that are beneficial towards us. Chris Holtmann loves to shoot the ball. That's been his philosophy since he's got here. So we got to be able to let it fly as well. And if we do those things, we're gonna win the game.
Yeah, I think in the first meeting between Butler and DePaul, Butler won 87 to 80. And in that game, Bizjack did his thing. He led the game with 24 points, 7 of 11 shooting. He was their main scorer, and DePaul didn't really have an answer for him. So you have to contain him 100%. Like that is going to be such a big thing for DePaul is containing Bizjack. But also defensively, they have to do a better job against Butler. In the first meeting, it was a scoring fest, and DePaul is not going to get into these games and win if they're in a scoring fest. That's not how DePaul has been all year. They're not going to win games if they're trying to outscore teams. They're going to do it on the defensive end. And in that first matchup against Butler, Butler shot 57% from the field, 47% from three, and Butler shot 31 free throw attempts. 31. Can't happen again. DePaul has to be better defensively. And that's how they're going to win this game. That is how they're going to win this game. The offense is fine because if the offense scores 70, 71, 72, 73 points, DePaul has to lean on their defense to get it done. And most of the year it has. But when they've gotten into those scoring fest and they've gotten into they have to score 80 points to win, it's not going to happen for DePaul. So you have to just lean on your defense. That's what has been the thing all year. You have to lean on your defense, and that's no difference here. DePaul will enter this game with one of the better Ken Palm defenses. They're ranked 39th now. 39th. They're top 40 defensively in Ken Palm. That's fantastic. Offense is not great, but defense has been their MO all year. It's been their MO all year. So you have to come into this game stopping a Butler offense that's 79th in Ken Palm in offensive rating. So their MO is offense. So offense versus defense. DePaul's defense has to step up, and it's going to be a good game. Obviously, DePaul knows what they're playing for in this game. They know that they don't have to play on Wednesday if they win this game. They get extended rest. They know who their first round opponent will be. Seton Hall. Simple as that. So DePaul comes to this game riding on a lot of things. John, do they win this game? What are your thoughts?
They win this game. They win
Win
this
this
game.
game.
I think the players know how important this game is and just that salty feeling in their mouths too of like we had Villanova
Yeah.
like right there, right there. And that feeling, the mindset of going into the Big East, and like if you've noticed, especially with like the teams that are DePaul teams that haven't gone well in the regular season, when it goes into Big East time or the Big East tournament time, it completely switches. And I feel like they know there's a huge opportunity, not only for their careers going forward, but there's a huge moment to put DePaul on the map in the Big East. And I feel like Chris Holtmann is preaching that. I feel like the assistant coaches are preaching that. And I feel like the players want that because they
Yeah.
want to be able to share alongside guys that we haven't seen, like Amoja Gibson, Javon
Yeah.
Johnson, or like all of those guys. So I'm taking DePaul, and I think we're gonna win by double digits. That's my hot take.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm gonna go also DePaul. I think they're gonna do it. I think Wintrust is gonna be rocking. I really do. I think the fans are gonna show up. They know the importance of this game and ending. And it's senior night or senior day, I should say, because it is an early morning game, 11 a.m. But I think it's a senior day. NJ Benson, Maclin, CJ Gunn. It's their final regular season game of their college basketball careers. They're gonna want to put on a show. So I think DePaul's gonna get this job done, and it's gonna be a good battle. It's gonna be exciting, and I'm excited for it. But that's gonna do it here on this episode of the Blue Demon Banter podcast brought to you by WeAreDePaul. Don't forget to subscribe to our free newsletter at WeAreDePaul.com. Insights, breakdowns, stories every single day. Be sure we'll have you prepared for the Big East tournament next week where DePaul could earn a first round bye. So make sure to subscribe to our free newsletter on We Are DePaul. John, thanks for coming on the show, and hopefully
Thank
DePaul
you.
can come and get a win on Saturday against Butler. And as always, guys, go Blue Demons. Have a good one.